Thank you, and thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you to all the volunteers that have worked so hard to put this event on, those that have done it online or giving out leaflets or putting up posters or inviting people to come along. Thank you very, very much indeed. And if I could also say thank you to The Rock for hosting us tonight and giving us the space to have this meeting in. Thank you to all of those people for all that they've done. We have a great lineup of speakers here tonight. We have a fantastic audience with lots of ability, lots of knowledge, and I hope lots of ideas about how we can develop in the future. I'm very proud to be the MP for Islington North, and as you know, I have been for a long time. I want to say thank you to Islington North for giving me an education, for giving me an opportunity to work with wonderful people all across different communities, all coming from different parts of the world, all making a huge contribution to our life and our community. And if you represent an area, you feel a very close affinity to it, of all the battles we've had and so many things that we've been involved in and campaigns. I can think of so many campaigns that we've had which show the strength of communities demanding that something different take place, not what the establishment or vested commercial interests want. Think of those that fought for years against the widening of the Archway Road, which would have sent more and more traffic through Islington. We were told we were mad when we opposed it in 1972. They said, no, the road's got to be widened, there's got to be space for more cars. And we said, no, we need to rethink our city. We need to rethink our city away from the idea of covering it all with concrete and motorways and funneling more and more traffic into central London. We need to think differently. And so opposing this road is an important part of that. It will stop there being a motorway development all the way through to the docks in London. And it was quite amazing that sort of 15, 16 years later, the Secretary of State for Transport in Parliament gives me one grumpy, bad-tempered answer, saying, in answer to the member for Islington North, the Archway Road scheme will not now go ahead. Wow, that was victory. It wasn't said with any good grace, I might add, but it was a victory which I thought we should all be very proud of. And then when they came along and tried to turn the Barking to Gospel Oak line into a road, we opposed that by walking down Archway Road with a big rope around us for the equivalent road space of a bus, with 70 of us inside each rope area, pointing out that you've got far more people around in London using a bus than you do having 70 private cars on the road. It made the point, and it helped as part of that campaign, and eventually we won electrification of the Barking to Gospel Oak line, and from 4,000 passengers a day many years ago, it is now more like 10,000 passengers an hour that go on that line. That shows what you can do when you invest in public transport. Thank you to Ken Livingstone and all those that did so much to turn the corner on public transport in London. That was part of a huge social change that came from the ground up. Look at the Whittington Hospital. They came along and tried to take away the A&E department. I see Shirley here. Welcome, Shirley. Thank you for everything you did and do for the health service in our borough. They tried to close the A&E department. We pointed out the dangers of that. We campaigned very strongly against it. And eventually, we had the most bizarre election rally ever in 2010. When we'd won the campaign, every party claimed that they'd won the campaign. And so we had every single candidate from everywhere, about 10 constituencies, they all turned up outside the Whittington to claim that they'd won the battle. None of them won the battle. It was the people of Islington that won the battle by standing up for the hospital. And so there is so much else that we've done. And if you go outside to go home tonight, you'll get a number 4 bus. And that number 4 bus is one that was due to be taken away. And it was won by people who were determined to try and bring about something different. I'm about to get a note so I can understand what it is. I can see the figure you're about to write. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Okay. Sorry, what's the message? Okay. I have overstepped the mark. I'm being admonished and upbraided by the chair. Apparently, this was meant to be a welcome to you all and not the speech that I intended to make. So I'll put it to the vote. Do you want me to stop now and come back later, or do you want me to carry on with it? What's the view? What do you want? Carry on, okay. I'll finish my speech, and if I may intervene for a little tiny bit later on, that'll be all right. So we fought battles, and we fought battles, and we fought battles in the Labour Party. We fought many battles. And as you well know, after the 2019 election, I was suspended from membership of the Labour Party, then reinstated, then suspended from the Parliamentary Labour Party, and then for their own bizarre reasons, the National Executive said I was no longer fit to hold public office. I thought differently about that. I thought it was grotesquely unfair, but more importantly, a lot of other people did as well. So we fought the election as an independent last July. We won that election because we fought there on a spirit that would bring people together, a message that would bring people together in order to build a stronger and better community. And in doing that, there was that amazing atmosphere around the campaign. Public rallies all around the constituency, not to make us feel good, but the music was great, but it was also about showing to people that politics can, will, and must always be done differently. And I promised that we would hold people's forums every month, and we've done that. We've held people's forums on a whole range of subjects: health, mental health, housing, environment, disability, creative arts, workers' rights. And the next one is on the 13th of November at the Whittington Park Community Centre, which is a discussion about the attack on justice, the attack on liberties, and the rise of the far right within our society. And it is bringing people together, some with lots of political experience, some with none at all, on a vision of the kind of life and kind of world that they could live in. And it is a wonderful experience, and it shows how politics can be done differently, which is why I want us to do things rather differently. And we then decided, after the election and the election of 4 of my colleagues as independent MPs into Parliament, that's in Batley and Dewsbury, in Birmingham Perry Barr, in Leicester South, and in Blackburn, where they all won as independents, and we formed an independent alliance group of MPs in Parliament. We come together initially on Gaza, and we come together on most other issues. It's an independent alliance of the willing on the issues on which we can work together. And we are supporting the development of a democratic grassroots party, and that is what yourparty.uk is due to be. And we've had launch meetings of local groups all over the country. We've had deliberative assemblies all over the country. I was in one in Camborne, Falmouth and Camborne at the weekend in Cornwall. I was in one in South London yesterday, North London before that, and I've been at many more around the country, and we're also holding them in Scotland, in the northeast, northwest, all over the country. They're all well attended. They're all fascinating. There are people with a very wide range of ideas about what democracy is, how democracy can work, how the party can work. That's fine. That's good. That's healthy. As long as the disagreements are done with respect and we finally come to a position where we can all work together, that is absolutely fine, because that is what it has to be, bringing people together in order to work down the main issues that we're talking about in your party. And what I can announce, as of this evening, we've just got the figures in, that we now have 50,000 members of yourparty.uk, which makes us the largest Socialist Party for a very long time in this country, and I'm looking forward to those numbers going up by the hour, by the day, and by the week as we work towards our launch conference in Liverpool at the end of the month. This is a mass democratic movement, and we're obviously going to be working with lots of other groups in local communities. For example, in our own community here, we have the Islington Community Independents. That last, the name ICI, has been put to a good and positive use. And Islington Community Independents will be fighting the elections next year, as will independent groups in all parts of the country. Yourparty.uk wants to work with radical forces all over the country so we bring about change. And that means cooperation between different groups and different interests and different people. That, to me, is very important. But it isn't just about elections. Elections are important because you put somebody in office with a sense of their responsibility and their accountability to those that have put them there. But it's also about what we do in a community. We're being disempowered as people. We're being disempowered by the media. We're being disempowered by social media. And we're sort of told we don't really have any power to achieve anything. And that means that in communities all over the country, where children are growing up in desperate poverty, where housing conditions are appalling, where the health service is barely functioning, where there is depression, high levels of mental health conditions, and a lot of sadness, what then happens is Reform UK turn up. And what do Reform UK offer? They say, it's a great shame, you know what's caused all this, and then immediately go off into a tirade about refugees and people coming on boats from Calais, and set off a huge thing about the alleged dangers to our community of people that have made their homes here. Well, I'm proud to represent a constituency where there are 70 different languages spoken. I'm proud to represent a constituency where people from all over the world have made their homes here. They make sure we have an education service, we have a transport service, we have a health service, we have a public health service, we have so many other services, and we have so many vibrant local businesses. The diversity of London, the diversity of this country is not a weakness, not a problem. It's absolutely its strength, and we should be proud of it. And so the proposals now being put forward by various people, for example, to abolish the right to remain when you've received indefinite leave to remain. What will that do to our hospitals? What will it do to our transport system? What will it do to the feelings of those people and those families? And it's all driven by a sort of racist endeavour being promoted by Farage and Reform UK. And they get a ready hearing from the Tory party, yes, from much of the media, and sadly, they also get it to quite a considerable extent by the language used, even by ministers in our own government. When Keir Starmer quoted Enoch Powell about saying the country has become a country of strangers, I thought that was abominable when Powell said it when I was 19 years old in 1968. I think it's equally disgusting now, and it should never have been said, and it's language that should never be used. And so, our job isn't to appease reform, our job is to offer something else, offer an alternative, and demonstrate how communities do come together in the most terrible adversity. And you think back to 2017, that disastrous, vile incident that happened in Finsbury Park when Macram Ali was murdered by a far-right racist driving along Seven Sisters Road. What was the response? People came together, people of all faiths. Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, all came together to hold a memorial event for Macram on the streets. All the traffic was stopped, and we held that. And every year we remember Macram Ali, all faiths come along. That is what a community looks like when any one of its members is under attack. So if a synagogue's under attack, a mosque is under attack, a church or a temple, it's equally bad because it's an attack on the rights of all of us to practice the faith, the religion, and the society we want to live in. And so it's what we stand for that is important. There are, and I'll finish on this, there are 4.5 million children living in poverty. There are desperate levels of poverty and poor quality housing within our society. None of this is necessary in the fifth richest country in the world. We have grotesque levels of inequality within our society. We have more billionaires than ever and more rough-sleeping homeless than I can ever remember. We have more people in housing overcrowding than I've ever known before. We have more children growing up, 2 or 3 children sharing a bedroom together. Not surprising they have trouble achieving at school. Not surprising many of them have stress and mental health related problems. Education is great, but it can't deal with all the social problems we have. And so what we need is a really aggressive approach to changing housing strategy in London. The government has just passed the renters' bill. I supported it in as far as it went because it ended no-fault eviction, because it gave some greater certainty over tenancies. It was an improvement in that sense. But it missed the fundamental point, which is about rent controls. When it costs £2,000 a month to rent a 2-bedroom flat in this constituency, in this borough, what chance has anyone on minimum wage or living wage got of getting anywhere to live in the private rented sector unless they're unemployed and able to claim benefit with up to the level of the local housing allowance? So when I challenged this in Parliament with the Minister, I said, yes, it's good what you've done, but you've got to go further. You've got to control rents. And he said, the government does not see the concept of rent controls as being a necessary or an improvement. What we see is attracting private sector investment into the private rented market in order to increase the size of the private rented sector. Sorry, what I want to hear from the government is, yes, they're going to protect people against excessive rents, which is exactly what Zoran Mandami is campaigning for in New York at the present time and getting a lot of support for it. What I want to also see is a determination to build far more council housing. When the mayor announces he's reducing the proportion of social housing requirements on new developments down to 20%, I ask myself, what on earth are we doing here when we know there's a housing crisis and we're actually making it considerably worse by those kind of decisions? What we need is strong government that is determined to build the council housing that is necessary, and that is what we intend to do. There are so many other issues that we want to be doing in your party. Crucially, we have a large membership, we have a large support base, it's much bigger than the membership, and I'm hoping many of those will convert into members. We can therefore deal with issues like the government's attempt to take away personal independence payments by setting up our own disability commission made up solely of people with disabilities in receipt of personal independence payments, so they will make recommendations for the future, not a Treasury-led decision on trying to save money from it. There are so many policy areas we have to work, but it's about democracy in society. I favour public ownership of the water industry, of public services, of energy, and absolutely I favour complete public ownership of the National Health Service rather than pouring money into the private sector to live off the National Health Service. These things are very important. But we've got imagination, we've got ideas, we've got breadth of vision on the environment. We're working with all the environmental campaigns on sticking to the net zero target by 2030, but we'll also be working with a lot of others on the concepts of public ownership. Imagine it this way. We could nationalise Thames Water. Fine. I don't think there's anybody in here who loves Thames Water. If there are, put your hand up, but do it gently. Yeah? Yes, okay, yes, you. Thank you. I knew there was one. If Thames Water was taken into public ownership, you could appoint a board of directors to run Thames Water. They might be good people, they might be bad people, they might be I don't know who. But it would be theoretically in public hands. But it wouldn't be run any different. What we need is democracy in the running of our public services. How much better if Thames Water was run, yes, by public ownership, but also that would include the workers who work for Thames Water, the consumers who buy from Thames Water, the environmental campaigners who understand things, the Environment Agency, local business community and others, making sure that our water industry didn't pour sewage into the rivers and the sea, but instead recycled and repaired the system, and instead of taking £70 billion out of it over the past 30 years, put the money into improving water supply and improving the river quality and the sea quality all around our shores. That surely is something we can all achieve. Let's not lower our ambitions and lower our sights. Let's instead be ambitious for the future. The world is in a bad place environmentally, a bad place militarily, and a bad place economically. Trillions spent on weapons every year, the UN underfunded, the World Food Programme running out of funds, while the arms industries all around the world are making profits like they've never ever seen before. And the daily reports of the genocide in Gaza, the horror story of what our weapons, with American weapons too, can do to the people of Gaza. So I'm proud of the way our community has stood up for the people of Gaza, stood up for the Palestinian people, and stood up to try and bring peace to them and peace to the whole region. Let's be proud of our solidarity with them. But there has to be an end to that war. That war has to be ended by the withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza and the West Bank, by a recognition of Palestine, which is beginning to happen, but above all, leaving the future governance and planning of the area not to our arrogant colonial minds, but with Tony Blair going in as some kind of viceroy to manage Gaza. Let the Palestinian people decide on their future, and let the Palestinian people be the ones who lead the way on that. And we're going to hear some more about that tonight. And so your party is about democracy, is about grassroots, is about inclusion, is about campaigning, is above all about imagination, about building a world fit for the next generation. An education system that doesn't stress, instead encourages and achieves. And I've got two demands at all of our meetings. One, there is music at all of them. And secondly, that every one of our local organizations all over the country has at least one open public event every month for their local community to come in, make the demands, tell them the stories, but above all, be part and parcel of the campaigning. There's nothing more powerful than people coming together in their own communities, demanding social justice, demanding change, and forcing that all the way up through the political system. Your party can do that. Thank you very much.